let's look at a couple examples here. I'm actually going to show you two different techniques. The first technique is going to be to divide the numbers and subtract the exponents, and then I'll show you a little shortcut that we can apply here whenever we're dividing with exponents. So here we go. Let's look at number 5. The first thing you want to do is start with your big numbers, or let's start with the coefficients. And I'm going to draw a fraction bar. 4 divided by 8 is actually reduced down to 1 over 2. Now our rule says that if you have x to the 5th divided by x to the 1st, you're supposed to take your letter and then just subtract the exponents. 5 minus 1 would make that x to the 4th. And we could leave it like this. You could actually clean that up and take it one more step and say, what's 1 times x to the 4th? The part here on the top. Well, 1 times x to the 4th would just be x to the 4th. And we would divide that by 2. You could take your calculator, the TI-83 or 84, store a random number for x, type in your problem, type in your answer. You should get matching outputs. Now there is, and I'll erase this here, an actual other way, a shortcut way of doing this as well. And so we'll start with our numbers. 4 divided by 8 is 1 over 2. And pretend like x to the 5th is like having 5 x's on top. We have 5 x's on top, and we have 1 x on bottom. And we can actually go through here and we can cancel out sets of x's. So see how I can cancel this guy out? And how many x's are we left up top? Well, we would be left with 4 of them up top. So that would be x to the 4th, because 1 times x to the 4th is x to the 4th, divided by 2. So another way of looking at this is if you have more x's on top than you do have on bottom, then you'll obviously be left with the x's on top. But what will that look like if that's not the case? What if we have some problems where we have more on the bottom than we do on the top? So let's jump down to number 12. First thing I want to do is let's draw a fraction bar, and let's start with our x term. X to the 1st and x to the 3rd. Well, you could go through and do the subtract method, but if you do that, you're actually going to be left with some negative exponents, and that kind of gets a little gnarly. Or you can think here, if I have 1x on top, and I have 1, 2, 3 x's on bottom, couldn't I cancel out a set of x's? Which means I would be left with 2 of them on bottom. And another way of looking at that is, since I have more x terms on bottom, or x values on bottom, the x answer is going to be on bottom after I subtract those, so to speak. So let's look at our y's. Y to the 2nd divided by y to the 2nd. Well, if I have 2 y's on top and 2 y's on bottom, wouldn't I just be canceling those sets of y's out, and I wouldn't have anything at all, right? So they go away. They cancel out. And then let's look at our z. We have z to the 3rd up top and z to the 1st on bottom. So that would be like saying I have 3 z's up top and 1 z on the bottom. And if I were to cancel that out, I would be left with 2 z's up top. And since I have more z's up top, obviously z to the 2nd would go up top. And this would be my answer. All right, let's look at one more example here. Let's jump over here to question 11. So the first thing we want to do is draw our fraction bar, start with our numbers. What is negative 28 divided by negative 21? Now, if you can't reduce that, you can obviously use the calculator and type in negative 28 divided by negative 21. It'll give you a decimal, then do your math frac enter, and you're actually going to be left with 4 over 3. Let's start with our top number, a letter C. Since I don't have any other letter C's to reduce with or to simplify, so to speak, I'm actually just going to leave the letter C up top. Same thing down here. I don't have any letter B's to simplify the bottom letter B with from anything up top, so we're just going to leave it on the bottom. But if you look at D to the 3rd and D to the 2nd, since I have 3 letter D's up top, 1, 2, 3, and I have 2 of them on bottom, 1, 2, I can actually cancel out 2 sets. That's going to leave me with 1 up top. And so here would be my answer. And again, you could pick a random number for C, pick a random number for D. You'll also have to pick a random number for B, store that in the calculator, type in your problem, type in the answer. You should get a match.